Hello, my name is Paul Daniele. I am the Executive Director of the Rural Growth Initiative, a nonprofit based out of Columbia, South Carolina. Our mission is to put rural communities on a path to sustainable growth while preserving character and culture. The conversation you'll hear is a message of hope for public school systems that are struggling in rural communities, specifically the 12 for Life program, a collaborative initiative between Southwire, leading manufacturer of wire and cable, and the local school system in Carrollton, Georgia. This program provides at-risk high school students with classroom instruction, on-the-job training, and essential life skills, aiming to motivate them to stay in school, graduate, and become successful and productive members of their communities.
Well, good morning, Joel. My name's David Warner, so I'm affiliated with Paul and his Rural Growth Initiative organization. I'm a retired economic developer, workforce developer, entrepreneurship center director, and that kind of stuff. And always been interested in innovative ideas, particularly in the non-urban areas that don't get all the opportunity that a lot of urban areas get. So Paul and I are of the same mindset of that. And he told me about your program. I got real excited because we love hearing new, innovative, successful programs that we can share with folks in our area. Of course, we're in South Carolina. I'm in Rock Hill, South Carolina, and Joel's down in Columbia, but we work regionally across the Southeast and are always looking for the big success stories. So thank you for joining me. Well, you heard about my background and kind of where I come from and our interest in what you're doing. So I'm going to let you do most of the talking. So let's just get started. If give me a kind of a introduce yourself, Joel, to our podcast audience, and then we'll move on from there.
Yes. Again, my name's Joel Grubbs. I've worked with youth now for 31 years in various roles. Coach basketball, classroom teacher, taught biology, life science, environmental science, both in the private Christian school and in the public school. And was a youth pastor for 2 years, really enjoyed that. But in 2002, I was hired on at Carroll County Schools, and I taught at Central High School for 12 years up until July of 2015. And I had taught, I did some tutoring here at 12 for Life when I was at Central. Then eventually taught summer school because at 12 for Life, we go year round. We have academic courses in the fall, spring. We have a mini semester in June and one in July. So for about 5 years, I taught in the summer here. And I saw the program, the positive impact that it had on students, especially those students that don't do well in the regular classroom. Because teaching at Central, my average class size, I would say, be between 25 and 32 students. Most of the time it was around 30, teaching 6 periods a day. And so you would have in those classes 5 or 6 students that regular ed classroom just was not suited for. And then when I came to 12 for Life, they work 4 hours a day, hands-on, and then we do these little modular classes. We call them rotation classes. They get professional skills, financial literacy, manufacturing, scientific research, and then we actually have a 2-story classroom in the facility with face-to-face instruction. And so, tying school to work and work to school, so the students are earning money, they're using their hands, and the benefit and the positive impact for that specific demographic of students was very rewarding to me. So in 2015, I took a position of instructional facilitator. I worked with dual enrollment, checked students' grades. At that time, we had about 325 students in the program, and it's quite large. And I did that for a couple of years, 3 years, and then in March of 2018, the principalship or site supervisor position came open, and I took that. So this is my 6th year, I believe, being principal and being involved here at 12 for Life. But again, just we focus on the term at-risk student, and I really believe all high school students are at risk at some point. Even my own children. I know that a lot of children have a lot more advantage, being in middle or upper class. I get that, but just high school students in general can struggle. But the program here is for an at-risk student. How we identify those students, I work with 5 school districts now. It started with Carroll County Schools. It has grown. Now we serve Harrison County, which is north of Carroll. I-20 running from Atlanta over into Alabama. Harrison County is north of I-20. Carroll County is south. And then we serve Heard County, which is the most southern county to Carroll. We serve Bremen City and Carrollton City schools. So we have 5 school districts, 9 high schools that we serve. There's counselors that are at each high school that's assigned to 12 for Life. There's a rubric, and that rubric, the higher you score on it, the more you're at risk. The rubric looks at identifiers. First is the counselor's priority ranking. If the counselor sees something specific that would cause a student to drop out of high school, they would give us a call, and then we would consider that over the other factors. The next one in line is attendance. Student that has 8 unexcused absences on their school record, that would score them a 4 on the rubric. The next one in line would be economically disadvantaged. We use free and reduced lunch. Also, if a student is homeless, we do have homeless students at 12 for Life. That's the acronym for that is Family in Transition or FIT. So if they're homeless, that would score them high. If they get free lunch, that would be the next one, reduced, and so on. Grade, credit deficient. If a student has failed 2 or more classes, that would score them a 4, and then it would go down from there. And then the last thing is behavior. And what Southwire requires is that the student cannot have any level 3 violent or sexual behavior referrals on their school record. And really what we're trying to do with that piece, 12 for Life is not like a youth detention program or a punitive alternative school program. What we're trying to do is identify students who are headed that way, get them in, give them a job, give them academic support, and prevent them from taking that next step to maybe go to alternative school or legal issues. When the students interview, they do have to pass a drug screen, so that that even helps narrow that search down to those characteristics that would just say, hey, this student is 16 years old. They've got to be 16 to be in the program. But here are the factors. This would indicate that this student is at risk of dropping out of high school. And then once the counselor finishes that rubric, we score it. And let's say we're going to hire 50 students. So what we would do is we would rank those rubrics in order from high to low. And then the students most at risk would get the job, get the interview opportunity. Of course, when they interview, then that's when they go do the drug screen. So if we interview, let's say 50 students, we're probably going to lose about 8 of them to the drug screen. And that's just the nature of, you know, I've been in it for 6 years, and that's about what you can expect.
Let me step in here a minute, if I might, Joel.
Sure.
So for those of our listeners that are not so familiar, what I have now is that these are at-risk students that are being given opportunities to get some work-life skills while they're still in school. And I talked with Joel a little bit about your program before we did the podcast, and see if I'm right on this. So he basically said that this is a high school program within a plant. So
Yeah.
you're in an industrial facility. I think a lot of our listeners would find that really interesting, and that the faculty is there in the plant, and you are the principal of this program in an industrial facility for these students. And to tell me just a little bit about what that's like.
So, how it's set up, we've got 3 shifts for students. First shift runs from 8 to 12. Most of those students are going to go to school in the afternoon with us. But first shift, 8 to 12, those students that's a 4-hour shift, Monday through Friday. Those students will get off at 12. They do their rotation class that's at professional skills, financial literacy, scientific research, manufacturing from 12 to 12:30, lunch from 12:30 to 1. We do provide school meals. I won't go into that. We have them delivered. But then at 1 o'clock, those first shift students will go into our classroom face-to-face instruction. We have 2 blocks. First block is from 1 to 3. Second block is from 3 to 5. And then those students are done at 5 o'clock. Now,
Okay.
second shift, what that is, that's from 1 to 5. Their rotation classes from 12:30 to 1. Those students are going to one of the 9 high schools, and they're taking their academic classes in the morning because we don't offer that. They're having to take a class they need for graduation that we don't offer, and so they're going to their regular high school, and then they come to us in the afternoon and work that 1 to 5. And then we have a 5:30 to 9:30. And for those students, they need a full day of school. They need a full day of school, and then they would get out at 3:15 or whatever, get on a bus and come to us. They would do their rotation from 5 to 5:30, and then work 5:30 to 9:30. Now, I've done a lot of tours, and I talk about third shift. They say, man, that's a long day. And it is a long day for those students. But if they worked at McDonald's or Kroger or some other, they're going to be working late at night, and they're going to have to work Saturday and Sunday. We don't have any weekend work, no work on Saturday or Sunday, and those students are done at 9:30. Most of our new hires, because they're coming in the program fresh, will go to that third shift. And then I mentioned we do summer school. Those students have the opportunity to recover credit or to get ahead. And once they go through a cycle with summer school, then those third shift students can move to first or second. The basic setup of the plant, we have, there's 3 sections, and I'll call it the back of the plant. That's the reel shop. Those students build anywhere between 35 to 40,000 reels or spools a month. Basically, they're either building a reel, 2 flanges, staves, a wooden one, or one with a cardboard center. Once those reels are built, they're shipped out to other Southwire manufacturing companies. They put bulk wire, about 1,000 foot of wire, home wire, or Romex, that's that, like behind the sheetrock, the wire that, you wire your home with. That's one of the top sellers, or MC cable. We do cat wire, landscape wire, circuit wire. We run about 300 products here. So that bulk wire is put on the reel that the students build. And then once the bulk wire is put on, it comes back to the other side of the factory. And we have what we call rewinders. And the student will load the bulk reel into a $700,000 machine. We have about 26 of them. And then that student runs that machine and cuts that wire to length, anywhere from 15 to 50 feet. They bag it. We have students who box it, label it. There's some logistics involved in that as well. And then that goes to Southwire inventory. And then from there, it goes to Home Depot, Lowe's, Menards, Ace Hardware, or Walmart.
That's great, Joel. I appreciate that. So I want to kind of pull it up to the program level and kind of ask you some questions about the program. So what I'm hearing is students get a taste of work life. They're on schedules. They got to be there. They need to be, pass safety tests and drug tests and, like
Yes.
real employees. So they're learning what the work world is all about, which is, tremendous. Now, to pull off a program like this, I presume, you mentioned Southwire. So I understand Southwire is a local manufacturer in your community that is heavily involved in this program. Let's talk about their engagement and maybe some of the other critical partnerships that you're involved with to make this program go.
Okay, so Southwire it's really a worldwide company. They employ about 7,000 employees worldwide. They're the second leading wire manufacturer in the United States. For instance, Mercedes-Benz Stadium, all the wire, electrical wire in Mercedes-Benz Stadium is Southwire wire. So they're a robust company, but they're founded in Carrollton, and their main headquarters, 2 miles down the road, is Carroll County School Board office. So you'd have one spouse working, for the school system, the others working for Southwire. So they started talking and did a study, hey, why do students drop out of high school? Our graduation rate back then was 65% for all students. It was 45% for economically disadvantaged. This goes back to 2004, 2005. And for Southwire, only 6 out of 10 adult applicants would have their high school diploma or their GED. So that was a common problem. They did a study. Why do students drop out of high school? Number one reason, kids want to go to work. It's economic reasons. And so Southwire said, hey, we can give them a job. So they purchased this facility we're in. It's about 100,000 square foot facility. And then they equipped it. The partnership between Southwire and Carroll County Schools initially, you had Stu Thorne was the CEO, Richard Miller, Mike Wiggins, John Zahner was the Carroll County superintendent. Now it's Mr. Scott Cowart. It was such a kind of a grassroots thing. And it was done on a handshake. As far as having memorandums of understanding and all that, it was really neat because it happened so quick. The relationships were formed. So really, it's just with Southwire. Now, I will say this. In 2000, we started in 2007 with 69 students. In 2010, 12 for Life in Florence, Alabama started. So we do have a 12 for Life over in Florence, Alabama. They partner with Florence City Schools. And then, we over the years, we've had, you've got a Reaching Potential Through Manufacturing over in Augusta. Richmond County Schools partnered with Textron. They build easy-go golf carts over there. We have Anchor Pack down in Columbus, Georgia, Pine Furniture, Polk County, Print Pack in Villa Rica came and toured. That's in Carroll County. They started a very, I think they've got like 5 students. This is their second year. So Southwire is the main partner, and two, what they invest in it. They actually built the 2-story classroom. It's their facility. This is not a school building, so Southwire is fully involved in the infrastructure of the program. They do pay all the students' summer school fees. The students, their pay right now, base pay is $12 an hour. If they work 5 days a week, 4 hours a day. They get their 20 hours in, they get $1 bonus. So that bumps them up to 13. Once they've been here a year, they get another $1. So that's $14 an hour. At the end of the semester, if the student has a 4.0, they get a $400 bonus. If they have a 3.0, they get a $300 bonus. And for summer school, Southwire pays all summer school fees for the students. And this is really neat. They pay an additional half time to our summer school teachers, because when we started, it was hard to get teachers to give up their summer. And so Southwire said, look, if y'all pay them their regular hourly rate, we'll give them an additional 0.5. So our summer school teachers make time and a half. And so we have summer school teachers lining up, so we get to pick the best summer school teachers.
You know, you have a success when that happens, you know.
Yes, and scholarships, Southwire gives, they give 3 $10,000 scholarships to the Florence program. We get 7 of those, and it's done by a third party evaluate. The students have to apply. And so Southwire is so invested in it. You know, I mean, I can't speak well enough about them, how much they're committed to it. And then the school system, you know, we're committed because we've got 8 school staff here that's fully funded through the county. Bus transportation, Carroll County Schools, if the plant's open year-round, summer, Christmas, Thanksgiving, we run school buses. And, you know, that budget runs about $150,000 a year just to provide 12 for Life busing, because when you're looking at-risk students, you're also looking at transportation needs. And so that's a benefit. So I don't know if that answered your question, but that's kind of like the partnership.
Well, that's an incredible investment by a private entity. And of course, obviously, they get better trained employees out of this program for sure. So there's a direct one-on-one benefit. But I would suspect the benefits go way beyond them getting more effective employees. I bet, you know, other companies in the area benefit from these trained students that end up in the workforce for other companies, because they went through this program. And they have, you know, skills and certifications and that kind of thing. So this is really quite remarkable in terms of Southwire's, you know, heavy investment. So you need to do this program. You have to have a willing school district. You got to have an industrial partner with pockets that's willing to spend program money to get what they want out of it. Do you have another partnership like with a local tech college or something like that?
Yes, we work closely with West Georgia Technical College. And I will say this, the pandemic, we're still coming out of that. The program we were out for 18 months. You know, when we went out, we probably had 225 students. The most we've had is about 150 since then. We're working to, you know, to be able to bring more students in. You know, but as far as West Georgia Technical College goes, we actually had pre-pandemic, we had dual enrollment classes taught here, and we would probably have 10 to 15 students in those classes. We offered core classes, English 1111. I get the numbers mixed up, but basic intro English and math. We did offer macro economics here, and then we would send students to the campus like welding, CNA, cosmetology, that type of thing for West Georgia Tech. We still are partnered with them. Recently, in the last year and a half, we've actually incorporated an industrial maintenance lab here, which has been a really neat addition. And we're in the process of trying to work to get that dual enrollment aspect on our industrial maintenance. But a little on that, the push for us to have our own industrial maintenance. For instance, if a student wanted to go to West Georgia Technical College and be in their industrial maintenance, there's requirements, GPA, different things, and a lot of our students are not going to meet that. So by having our own, it gives us an opportunity to bring those students in and introduce them to industrial maintenance. And something I find, like how we identified the 12 for Life students to be in industrial maintenance, I'll go back and look at their grades in elementary. And a lot of our at-risk students in high school were high flyers in elementary. They get to middle school and the wheels fall off, and then they get to high school and fail a class or two. And so they get into that demographic of being at risk, but that does not mean they're not smart. And so we look at, okay, we're looking for promise in math. We look at their physical science. A lot of times, they have, C's and B's that shows me promise. So we stick them in there. In the past year, we've had about 30 students go through that. And right now we've got 3 that are in Southwire's adult industrial maintenance apprenticeship. And Southwire's paying them to go to West Georgia Tech once they graduate. So we're actually seeing benefits from that as well. So yes, we are partnered with West Georgia Technical College, and I'm looking to reinstate a lot of that from the still coming out of the pandemic.
Gotcha. Yeah, pandemic really set everybody back.
Yes.
But also maybe was an opportunity to recrank these programs up again and get the success. I'm very impressed with the success that you've had here. I know this, I think Paul was saying this is a relatively small but successful program amongst, 4 or 5 school districts in your area. So that's very, very impressive. So Southwire was the key anchor on the industrial side, on the private side for this. Are there prospects for any more Southwires once they see this program and what it has produced in your community and your communities around the area? Are there other companies expressing interest in investing in that same way?
Absolutely. There's one, Sunoco. They're over, one of their companies is over in Hartselle, Alabama. And so they were working with the 12 for Life in Florence. And so they started a program called Tiger Launch. And what those students do is they build the components for the reels that our students assemble over here in Carrollton. So you've got Tiger Launch, I mentioned RPM, Reaching Potential Through Manufacturing. They've got about 120 students over in Richmond. Building Easy Go golf carts, Han Furniture, Anchor Pack. We had last week we had Allen Metals from Missouri. They flew in and they've got a program they started, and they just wanted to kind of come over and see, talk about some of the problems they're having. So we met with them last week. So yes, and two, I function as the principal here, but like if you've got a business, a manufacturer, and a school system, you've got an area, like there's someone listening to this podcast and they're saying, hey man, I'm interested in this. Come tour our facility, and where you get the best bang for your buck. If you tour, if you've got a school system that's motivated to do this, and you have a manufacturer that's motivated, if you can get both of those parties here and see what we do, that's, we had Toyo Tires and Cartersville come in 2 years ago. They just started one up in Cartersville, Georgia. I think they've got a couple of students in theirs, but both Cartersville and Toyo Tires came in, and when they saw it, they left, and they're going, this, as I say, it's a no-brainer. And it doesn't have to be an at-risk model. Han Furniture in Polk County, their program's been existed for about 8 years. They started it as workforce development because back then half of their workforce was 50 or older, and they were going to lose a lot of their employees to retirement. And a lot of their skill sets You can't go to technical college and get that because it's specific to that industry. And so they came down and saw what we did and they said, look, this is going to be great. So they go back and they start their program, but it's workforce development, and they look for students that don't necessarily want to go to the military. They don't want to go to college, or at least initially they don't want to. They just want to go to work. So that's through, let's say, Rockmore High School and Cedartown High School. And so they identify those students that just want to go to work when they graduate. They get them into that program, and Han Furniture is working them so that once they graduate from high school, they'll go right into their workforce. But what happens is a lot of them, once they do that, they realize they do need some kind of certification or technical skill, and those students will end up at a technical college up in Rome. So yeah, this has been replicated across the country.
That's awesome. And that'll be the inspiration for our listeners too. Can this program be replicated? Can your success and growth in this program be replicated in other places? And I think our listeners really want to focus in on that. I just have a couple kind of high level questions. Now, with program funding, you've already said that, Southwire has made this very substantial investment in facilities, in faculty, and transportation. The school district, I'm sure, is a source of funding through their normal budgets. Are there other funding sources that add into your kind of financial program to support 12 for Life?
So, and there's so much I could talk about, but I'll go back. Let's say we go back to 2010. Or 2009, there were only 2 Carroll County employees here. One worked from like 7:30 in the morning to 2. The other worked from 2 to 9:30. Dr. Wright, who was my predecessor, he got several grants. One was through the Governor's Office of Student Achievement here in Georgia. And then there was I-3 grant that was for $3 million that he got. And when he got that grant, that allowed us to expand our faculty. And then Southwire's in-kind contribution was building the 2-story classroom. So that was about $1.5 million. And when I was hired on as instructional facilitator, I was hired on under a grant. And so I had to sign off saying, hey, when the grant's over and 12 for Life isn't sustained, then the county can place me anywhere. And so I was kind of like, I'm willing to do it, But when I took the principalship in 2018, that I-3 grant went out. And this speaks highly of Carroll County School, our school board, Mr. Cowart. They voted unanimously to fund 12 for Life in its current state. So when we came out of those grants, because a lot of times when you get grants and let's say good things happen, when the money goes away, generally not always, but generally the program goes away. But from the benefit of what they were seeing, even our principals of our high schools, they really said, hey, look, we need this. This is a huge help to us. So initially there was, I think, 3 or 4 the Office of Governor Student Achievement grants, and then the I-3 grant. But in 2018, we became fully funded through Carroll County Schools.
Wow, congratulations on that. I mean, that to stabilize your funding in such an innovative program is a rare achievement. So I congratulate you and all your partners in all of this. This has been incredible to hear about. In my world, coming from economic development in a local community, I'm always been advocating that our local industries get deeply involved in education for their own benefit and for the community's benefit. And your story will help kind of feed our narrative for what we want to inspire our local industries to do. So we're coming down to one last question, Joel, and I appreciate your time and your willingness to tell your story of 12 for Life in Carroll County, Georgia School District. And so my last question is, if you randomly grabbed a half a dozen graduates from your program, 3-4 years after, they're in the workforce, What do you think they would say about 12 for Life and how it impacted them?
Uh, so I'll say this because I can say it all day long. If you go to YouTube and type in 12 for Life 10th anniversary, you will hear the stories of 4 graduates. And you need to have some tissue in hand because it's
Wonderful.
it's an amazing story. But I'll give you, all right, I'm not kidding. This happened today. So I stop at Circle K and I'm filling up my truck. I get out of the truck, and two separate young men. One's in a car filling up, and this is probably a mile down the road. Another student is in their car. He got him, Coke, Mountain Dew, whatever. So he comes out and he goes, "You're Mr. Grubbs, right? You're at 12 for Life." I said, "Yeah, yes, sir, I am." He goes, "Man, I graduated 2016. I'm at Building Wire. I'm a lead now." And then the other boy in the other car said, "You taught me financial literacy back in the day." He said, "I'm at Pilgrim's. It's a chicken processing." He says, "I work in their maintenance program. I've been there for 8 years." That was this morning. So, but another story, and this is on YouTube as well. Ashley Jordan, 2010 graduate. She caught the vision. Long story short, January of 23, she was announced as MC, that's metal clad wire, plant manager. So we've got a 12 for Life student that's a plant manager now. And if you look across Southwire, you've got leads, product managers, their human resources. Southwire calls that people and culture. They're sprinkled throughout Southwire. And so, you ask these graduates, and I'm confident what you're going to get. And I would encourage the listeners, go to YouTube, look up 12 for Life 10th anniversary. You'll see a couple of screens up there and the students, and watch that. And that's pretty impressive. And I do say this, when, that's the end result. When we hire students, and if you look at our rubric, they are definitely at risk. And so they go through the interview process. Their first day of work, when they walk in the building, it's not like the choir sings and all their problems are gone away. I mean, it is hard work. If we hired 100, we're probably going to lose 20. I mean, that's and when students leave the program or get terminated, technically we do the process, but that student does it themselves, because the Southwire supervisors and staff, the school staff, we work to build meaningful relationships with those students. Attendance is the number one reason students leave the program, but we work with them, we spend the time on them, and it's a lot of work. But what's interesting is Southwire knows that, and the school system knows that hey, if we bring 100 students in, you're going to lose 20 of them, and they're willing to get the 80. They're willing to hire the 100 to get the 80. So to get these stories of the graduates, that's like, that's the gravy on the biscuit, so to speak. But when you go back and they're starting out, it is a lot of work. And again, I go back to, if a school system and a manufacturing company wants to start something like this, you have got to have champion people. There has to be an issue you're addressing. You're willing to provide things for students, but you have to have passionate people on both sides, willing to get in the trenches with those students and work through those issues.
Great. That's very inspiring. So I guess to wrap up, we're talking to Joel Grubbs, who's the site supervisor and principal of 12 for Life program in Carroll County Schools in Georgia. And he's sharing his inspirational story with us to hopefully light a fire under other partners in other school districts around the Southeast, so we can all get the next generation of workers working, because that's where they need to be. So Joel, thank you for your time and your insights, and appreciate everything you're doing, and congratulations.
Yeah,
And,
thank you for this opportunity. I love talking about 12 for Life.
Great. So to sign off, this is David Warner for Talking Rural podcast, part of the Rural Growth Initiative in South Carolina. Thanks, everybody, and have a good day.